Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbook in Quebec. Welcome to video 4 in my 5-part mini-series, Power Scrapping with my Flower Emporium FOMO kit. In this series, I'm sharing a fun and fast, streamlined approach to creating with collections. This can be done with whatever collection you want. I'm using Vicki Boutin's 49 in Market Flower Emporium collection with Stash, a kit I put together on YouTube that I affectionately called my FOMO kit, Fear of Missing Out kit. The power scrapping approach is basically batch scrapping. In video 1, I did the prep work batch style for all 5 double page spreads. I separated material into page kits with photos and drew sketches. The prep work is essential for power scrapping, and that video is linked below. Now I'm assembling pages, batch style, and with so many decisions having already been made during the prep work, these pages are coming together super quickly. Today, I'm going to be doing the third layout process video in the series, a double page spread. So let's get started. This is page pack number 5 from the first video. So basically in here I have paper, photos. I did select a few embellishments, and I also have the sketch that I drew up. I did do a bit of preparation since then. You can see I created a frame style foundation page. This is with 6 sheets of paper. I gutted 4 of them. There is a tutorial on my channel where I explain how to do that. So that's going to be listed and linked below, because I definitely use that paper that I gutted on top of my foundation page. I double matted 4 photos. So you can see I double matted them in white, but also that dark blue paper that is part of the foundation page. I'm also showing you that I gutted one of the photo mats because I really need every scrap of that dark blue paper. I only had 2 sheets and I use it a lot. When I put this kit together, I wasn't sure what size photos I was going to use, but you can see I decided upon 1 5x7 and 3 4x4 photos. So I have some other paper as well. Obviously that dark blue and the polka dot, I gutted that from behind the foundation page. I have some pale blue ledger paper, some orange solid paper, all of that from the Flower Emporium collection. In the first video, I did do a bit of embellishment selection, so that was in that little baggie below, and I'm showing you the sketch that I drew. So basically, it's a frame style foundation across 2 pages with strips of paper in 3 different pattern papers that go across the 2 pages. Now I'm showing you as well, I do have some embellishments on hand, and I'll go through these in detail a bit later on. Basically, I have stickers. This is all from the Flower Emporium collection. What I really want to use in this video for these 2 pages are the laser cut elements from this collection. These are pages 7 and 8 out of 10 for my series, and I barely touched those laser cut elements, and I love them, so I want to use them today. I also have some ephemera as well. Again, I'll go through that in more detail later on in the process. What I want to do right now is start cutting up some paper. So like the sketch I showed you, there's going to be 3 bands that go across the 2 pages. So I'm just making this quite simple. That didn't come out quite right. I'm making this quite simple. I'm cutting myself 4-inch strips of paper. Now, obviously, the orange ones are longer because the other 2 papers, I gutted them from behind the foundation page. I'm going to leave them as is at this point. I want to play with them a bit before I decide how long I want these strips to be. So what I'm going to do right now is place them on my foundation page, and I'm literally following the sketch. In the sketch, I actually made the decision that I wanted the dark blue on top, the orange in the middle, and the polka dot at the bottom. So far I am following the sketch, but you're going to see I do make a few changes along the way, and that is something I do when I power scrap, because I draw up these sketches quickly and I give myself the freedom to switch them up. And here's where I'm going to switch them up. So right now I'm following the sketch. I have the focal point photo on the right and the 3 other photos on the left. So I'm looking at that. That's all fine and dandy. I do plan to have some journaling kind of coming out from behind the focal point photo. But at this point, For some strange reason, I decide to switch sides. So now at this point, I'm putting the focal point on the left and the other three on the right. And today, that's how I like it. So now you see me adjusting the length of the strips because my photo takes up less of a footprint on the left. So those strips are going to be shorter. Now I'm just kind of guesstimating it. I will put measurements on the screen later on, but I must tell you, I do trim them along the way. This is my initial trimming. Actually, there's only one that gets retrimmed later on in the process at the very end. But the measurements I put on the screen now or in a few moments are going to be for the final trimming. So I just wanted to point that out. When I create these pages, sometimes I tweak along the way, but the measurements that I write on the screen are for the final measurements. So once again, I'm placing all of these page parts on the foundation page with my photos. And before adhering them, what I'm going to do is just ink up all of these page parts. So the ink I'm getting out here is Morning Mist by VersaFina CLAIR. It's just kind of a light gray. It's an old ink that's quite dry, and I don't like heavy inking, so that's why I use it to ink up my page parts. As you can see, I have my papers already adhered to the foundation page, and I'm showing you my embellishments. First, I'm showing you my title, which is simply going to be Chester. I punched these out with dies from Stampin' Up. They're older dies called large letter framelits. They measure about 2¼ inches tall. I just showed them to you. And I created adhesive letters. I'm showing you these adhesive sheets from Stampin' Up. Basically what I did was I backed a piece of orange paper in this adhesive sheet. Then I ran it through my die cutting machine, and now I have adhesive letters. I love those sheets. Now I'm showing you as well, I cut myself out a ledger paper and I punched out the edge with a notebook border punch. That notebook border punch is from Creative Memories. I will trim that down later on, but I do have it ready. So I'm showing you that I punched out some of those laser cut elements that I wanted to use from the Flower Emporium collection. So I have a window, a door, those are the biggest items, a bunch of flowers, some banners. I just showed you that they are so intricate. There are buckets, and inside the buckets there's a slit and you can slip in flowers. Super, super cute. I have a few ephemera pieces, some hearts and some wordy bits, and I also have stickers, again, all from the Flower Emporium collection. In this little dish, I have a few ephemera pieces from past 49 and Market collections. I put that together with my kit in video 1. So now what I want to do is place my photos once again and play around with embellishment. So I'm starting with the photo, so I know where they are going to go. And then what I will do is place my journaling box, and I will want to trim that down, and I'm going to want to place my title. So I'm just making a decision here. Now Chester, I wanted to put it just above that photo on the right, and I do want to point out I am quite literally switching everything from my sketch. So I'm following the sketch, except the left page is on the right and the right page is on the left, quite literally. Anyway, in order to fit this large title, Chester, I have to overlap that photo, but I have space in that photo, so I'm okay with that. So right now, everything is placed there. Now I'm going to start building clusters. So my plan here is to build them in 2 corners right now, basically the bottom right and top left. And I'm going to start with these bigger pieces, so the window and the door. Now it seems to me that the door should be at the bottom and the window at the top. I find that the door is a bit too long, so I'm actually lobbing off the top of it. It says Flower Emporium Shop or something like that, and it doesn't really make sense to my story, so I cut that down, but that actually causes me a bit of problem later on, because if you look at it, now the window is the same size as the door, so that does bother me later, but I do address it at the end of the video. Now what I'm going to do is, before continuing actually, what's bothering me now are the holes in the door and in the window. I love them, but I don't like the fact that I can see multiple layers underneath it. So now I'm just additioning a few different papers so that I can back those ephemera pieces. One of them was white. I found it kind of stark, but I found this other piece. It's like it's a text print from a past Vicki Boutin collection. So that's what I used, and I backed the window and the door off camera. So I'm happier with that. And now I'm going to start building my clusters. So these laser cut elements are absolutely detailed and gorgeous. So I have flowers in the window box, a little bit more flowers on top of the window. Now I'm taking the other flowers, those buckets with bouquets slipped in the slits of those buckets, and then I'm adding some other flowers as well. But what's happening here right now is everything is moving on my page. My photos aren't adhered, the title is not adhered, and I'm finding it basically next to impossible to build this cluster. At one point soon, you're going to see I toss everything to the side and I simply decide to adhere the 3 photos and my title because everything is moving. So I'm going to speed this up quite a bit. I know exactly where the photos are going to go, and I do very much appreciate that my alphas are adhesive. You're going to see me peel off the backing. It's really, really a great trick to use if you are creating die cut alphas. So I'm not going to make you watch all of it, but you can see I'm just kind of starting with the H on top of the photo. I move over, then I adhered the C. Now I'm going to start adhering this cluster. And what I'm thinking at this point is I just want to make some of that blue and white polka dot paper visible because that cluster is going to be quite big, and I do want a little bit of that polka dot paper to be visible, so I am conscious of that. So I started with one larger floral cluster, came in with the door, then came in with the buckets, put the little kitty cat down, which is the only themed ephemera piece in this entire page or on this entire page. I'm talking a little heart behind the cat, and I will end with one of those buckets of flowers. And for this one, I pop it up with some foam adhesive. Now what I will do is move over to the left page. So I fuss with this quite a bit. At this point, I do trim down that journaling box. So I'm just trimming it now. I want it to kind of, you know, take up a lot of the space underneath the photo, but I do want to be able to see other parts of the layers. The problem with this is you're going to see me adhere things down, but I'm finding the layers underneath not very cohesive, and I'm not sure if that's going to make sense. It's going to make sense after I adhere this journaling box and my photo down. When I go to place that window, what's happening is the layers underneath, those strips of paper that are horizontal, I find them kind of chunky, and where I want to place my window, there's like this space between that blue polka dot paper and the window. I don't know if you noticed that, but that's really bothering me. There's another thing that I'm conscious of as well. I know I want to add a little tiny embellishment up at the end of the word Chester. So placement of the window, I'm not quite certain where I want it to go at this point, because what I want is obviously to create a visual triangle, but I don't want the window to be at the same level as those 2 tickets and the embellishments that I'm placing at the end of the word Chester. So I decide to move over to the top right before going back and adhering that window. So right now you can see I adhered everything down, the window, those tickets, some flowers at the end of the word Chester. Those tickets actually stay there for a while, but I do remove them. I'm just looking for some little finishing touches. I looked in the stickers, didn't really find anything. Now I'm going back to my laser cuts and I find this really cute banner there. Now I love that. However, now that that's there, I'm not really liking those tickets, especially the blue one above the word Chester. So you're going to see I deal with that a bit later on. I'm also tucking in a little round circle. It's the same color, pale blue, as that banner. So what I'm trying to do here is repeat that pale blue in other clusters. And that circle that I tucked in at the bottom right, it just says One Fine Day. It's from an older 49 and Market collection. Now I want to add some of that pale blue in the top left corner. So I'm playing around with a little heart. I have another orange heart there as well. Also, what I'm trying to do is fill in that space above the window. It's actually bothering me. At one point, I decided to stop fussing and do my journaling because journaling does have a certain decorative impact on the page. And once my journaling was in place, then I knew what needed to be tweaked. So on the left-hand page, I ended up trimming that blue ledger paper. I actually had to because I ripped it when I adhered my journaling. I also trimmed the orange paper on the left because I felt it was just a bit too long. Now on the top right, I removed those tickets and I added more flowers instead. I also moved up the title a bit. And finally, I placed a wheelbarrow in front of the door just to make it look a bit bigger because like I mentioned earlier, I think I felt like the window and the door were the same size and that was bothering me throughout the process. So that's it for video 4 in my 5-part mini series, Power Scrapping with my Flower Emporium FOMO kit. There will be one more video in this series, a layout share for all 5 double page spreads. Not quite sure when that will be. I still have another double page layout to complete. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I would be thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very, very much. Have a great day, and I will see you soon on YouTube. Bye-bye.